Hello, students! Happy Monday! Today is November 2nd, and today I'm doing our science lesson, and we are starting a new and very exciting unit. I cannot wait for the fun things we are going to do. So let's go ahead and get started, and let's talk about what are we going to learn in this unit. And I'll give you a hint, it's a rockin' unit. All right, you may have guessed it. We are going to talk about rocks. We are going to talk about earth science. So in this unit, it's 2.7a, and it is about rocks. In this unit, students are going to be expected to observe, describe, and compare rocks. We are going to look at some really cool rocks together. And when we look at these rocks together, we're going to look at the size, how big it is, how small it is. We're going to look at the texture. Is it smooth? Is it rough? And then we're going to look at the colors, and you are going to see some really cool colored rocks. You might see some blue rocks. You might see some green rocks. You might see some really pretty orange or red rocks. We are going to look at so many rocks together. And so in this unit, we're going to be discussing how to describe rocks, how they are different in size. Some rocks are huge, some rocks are really itty-bitty little pebbles. We're going to be using our sense of touch. Now, because we're a virtual classroom, that's okay. We can still use our eyeballs and imagine how certain rocks will feel. You'll have a chance to go outside at your home and look up some rocks too. We're also going to obviously use our eyeballs, and we're going to use them to observe, describe, and compare how different rocks look, how their different colors look, how some rocks might look smooth, some rocks might look real rough, some rocks might have holes in them, and some rocks might be shaped like something we know. So we're going to be thinking about these fundamental questions. How can we use our senses, our sense of what it looks like, how we imagine how it feels to help us observe rocks? We're also going to be talking about physical properties. You might remember this whenever we were learning about matter at the beginning of the year. Right? We're going to be talking about those physical properties, how big it is, what color it is, how does it feel? And we're going to be using that so we can compare, we can talk about the differences or similarities between different rocks that we look at. So that is how we've opened our unit. I'm super excited. This unit is so rockin'. So before we start, let's go ahead and continue. We are going to go on to our picture vocabulary, right? Here are some words that we want to keep in mind as we are going through our unit. They're going to help us understand rocks and how to observe rocks better. Now, this is also a PDF on Schoology, so if you want to go back and look at these cards after I finish going through them, you can. The PDF is just for you, just so you can use them to look at later. Or if I'm going too fast, you'll be able to look and read them by yourself. Our first card is color. Color, the shade you see. What is the color you see? You might look at the picture and you can see 3 different colored gumballs, right? I see red, I see white, and I see blue. But if I wanted to take it one step further, I could say I see a light blue. All right, I see a really light blue. I see a white, but it looks kind of yellow too. These are different words I'm using to describe the color more. Let's go on to our next word. Geologist. A geologist. Before I even read the definition, I'm going to look at the picture and ask myself, can I guess what a geologist does? Right? And I know sometimes that whenever a word ends in ist, it sometimes means they're talking about a scientist who studies one thing. So I might be making some guesses in my big old brain, and I might say, I see a man. He looks like he has some kind of hammer, and he looks like he's about to hit some rocks. So my guess is this might be a scientist who learns about rocks. Let's go ahead and read our definition. A person who learns about rocks, a geologist. And I know in this unit we are going to learn a whole bunch about geologists, and we might become geologists ourselves. Let's go on to our next word. Rock, a solid piece of Earth's surface. And they have a really cool rock to show what a rock is, right? And I might be looking at those physical properties and I might say, oh, I see that this rock is made up of a bunch of rocks. I might talk about the colors I see. I see some gray. I see some brown. I see a little darker gray, almost a black. Those are physical properties I'm using to describe this rock. And we are going to look at so many rocks together. Size. How big or how small something is. And in the picture, they have two pencils of two different sizes. Right? So how can I describe the size of the pencils in the picture? Let's take a moment and think about that. That's right. You might say the first pencil, the pencil on top, is smaller than the pencil on the bottom. Right? That's how we are using it to compare sizes. Let's keep going. Soil, the stuff that covers the land and that plants grow in. And then soil, when rocks are beaten down and they're weathered on by the rain and wind, they turn into soil. Let's keep going. We're going to learn way more about that. This is just our introduction, our very first day about rocks. Texture. How rough or smooth something is. So we are thinking about how rough or smooth something is, right? So even though we don't have any rocks in our hands in person, we can still use our eyeballs and make inferences and make observations about if we think the rock is going to be smooth or if it's going to be rough. All right, and that's the end. We've already looped back around to all our pictures. Now, before we go, I want us to do an anticipation guide. Yay! We are going to read an article together the next time we meet, but before we do, I want you to be thinking about what our article is going to be about, so we are going to fill out our anticipation guide for today. Right? So, before we start reading, we are going to read some statements and think to ourselves, do we agree? Or do we disagree? Our first statement is, all rocks have smooth textures. Go ahead and take a moment and think, do you agree or you disagree? Now, I think that rocks, I would say that there are some rough rocks and some smooth rocks, so I'm going to say disagree. Let me pause this real quick. I want to make sure I can highlight my agrees and disagrees. All right, Miss Flores is back with her highlighter. So I said I want to agree. So let me go ahead and right. Well, for right now, I'll just put agree and disagree, right? This is for some of my students who might say they disagree. This is for some of my students who say they agree. Let's go on to the next statement. Properties are how something looks, feels, sounds, tastes, or smells. And I want you to take a second and remember, what did you learn about properties in our unit about matter? So I'm going to say properties are how something looks, feels, sounds, tastes, or smells. So let me go ahead and put and agree. A geologist is a scientist who studies maps. What does a geologist do again? Do you remember? Gosh, I can't remember. Let me go ahead and put a geologist is a scientist who studies maps. I'm going to put disagree because I'm not quite sure. I can't quite remember, but we'll check our answer the next time we read our article together. Animals and plants that become rocks after they die are called fossils. Whoa, I don't think I've learned that yet. So I'm going to go ahead and put a disagree for this one too. I can't wait to learn if that's true or not, but because I don't know, I think I'm just going to put a disagree. Hot, cold, big, small, red, and blue are examples of textures. I'm not sure. Textures is something that I can feel, but I can't quite remember from my picture vocabulary. I'm going to go ahead and put an agree. Oh no, let's see if I'm right. You'll have to check in on our next video for tomorrow. I can't wait to see you, students. Thank you so much for joining me in my introduction about rocks.